Hello student, let us start the fourth module or the fourth part of the chapter resources and developments, class 10th, chapter 1st. The one thing which left in the third part, let us first complete that topic, and that one is the conservation of resources. Whenever we read any topic from our book, from first to last chapter, at last we always do this conservation of that particular thing. So here also conservation. Now what is the meaning of the word conservation? Now here the meaning of the word conservation is not saving that thing. The meaning of conservation is the use of that thing, but in a judicial manner.
Here I would like to give you an example from our home. Like if we bath from bucket, then at that time we use 20 liter water.
Now
How to conserve resources. We can conserve resources, but we see why we need it, because most of the resources are non-renewable. Once they end, we will never get those resources. So it is good to use those resources in a judicial manner and conserve them for our future generations. Economic development of a country.
it is resources on which country's development is dependent. If we take an example of iron ore from a needle to spacecraft, each and everything is made of iron, directly or indirectly. Not only this, the countries which are rich in gold, diamond and other minerals, obviously these minerals, these resources helps in the economic development of that country. Let us take the best example from Gulf countries. If we see Gulf countries, these countries are hot desert countries where a person cannot live, but we can see Dubai, Doha and that type of cities in these Gulf countries just because of resources which are available there. So we must conserve resources for our country's development or the future development. The inappropriate and reckless utilization of resources deplete them. It is the main reason of the depletions of resources. So we should use resources in a proper manner, and for that we always tries not to over exploitations of these resources which cause damage to the existing environment. Now let us come our next topic. This is how we complete resources. Now in the next topic we are taking one of the example of natural resource, that is land. First of all, the importance of it. If we see land, then it supports natural vegetation, or we can say the wildlife, the human life is also exist on land. all the economic activities whatever we see is on land, plus transportation, communication, etc. systems is on land, and therefore it is important to use it with careful planning. If we see India, then in India the maximum part of it, that is approximately 43% is plain, while 27% is mountain, and the rest, that is 30% of India's land, is covered with mountains, and the 20% of the total land of India is covered with plateaus. We will see this diagram after discussing the land utilization as what shows in this diagram also. Land utilization means how the land is used. If we see that how the land is used, then the land is basically used in this manner in any part of the world or country. The land which is covered with forest in India, it is 22.57% according to the manual survey done in the year 2004. The next is the fallow land. Now what is the fallow lands? Fallow land means a land which we left uncultivated for a few period, means that this land is good for the cultivation and we are using this land for cultivation, but we left it uncultivated for few time only, so that the land become more fertile. This uncultivated land is called fallow land. This fallow land is again divided into two parts. The first is the current fallow land, which is less than 1 year, or we can say a land which we left for one season only.
The next is the
other than current, means a land which we left for 1 to 5 years. This is called other than current fallow land. The current fallow land in India is 7.03%, while the other than current fallow land in India is 3.82%. These whole data are given in our NCERT book, Geography class 10th. Land not available for cultivation. We can classify this type of land into two parts. Obviously the first one is the barren, or we can say the wasteland, which is 6.29% of the total land of India. We cannot use this land for agriculture purpose or for any other purpose. The next one is the land put to non-agriculture activities like roads, etc., or we can say road transport, buildings, etc., construction work. So now this land is also not available for cultivation. We cannot cultivate anything here also. This type of a land, as we can see here in this picture also, is 4.95%, which is now 7.92%. So it is 7.92%. Now the next is the other than, or we can say the other uncultivated land. Excluding the fallow land, we count rest here. This type of lands are three types. The first is the cultivable wasteland. This is actually a fallow land which left uncultivated for more than 5 years. So we include it not in fallow lands but here in the category of other uncultivated land areas, because this land is uncultivated for more than 5 years, which is a long period. It is approximately 4.41%. The next one is the land under miscellaneous tree crops, or we can say grooves, etc. This is 1.10% of the total land area, while the permanent pasture land, I hope you all know, it was in our history in last year. Pasture land means a land area. It is a cultivated land area, but we are not doing agriculture work here, and there is no forest also found here. Here what we see is the grassland only, and that is why this land is used for grazing purpose in those areas. These are called pasture lands. In India also a lot of pasture lands found in hilly areas of Himalayas and the northeastern part of India. This is 3.45% of the total land. Now in last come the net sown area, means the total area sown at present. It is approximately 43.41% in India, which is using for cultivation. So this is how the land utilization is divided in India. Let us discuss this through this diagram also. As you can see here, 45.2% land in the year 1960-61 comes under the agricultural land area, and this land is not able to fulfill the demands of 34 crores of Indian people, and at that time we basically import a lot of food grains from outside world, while at present the land area is decreased and now we have only 43.41% land, but this land is able to fulfill the demands of not only to 1 crore of peoples, but also we export a lot of food grains to the outside world. Means now we are really utilizing a land in a proper manner, as what we say, what I said earlier, in a judicial manner. The rest are these alls, but the main thing which we have to know is that we must learn these all percentage, because these are the present situation of India, as all these are given here. This diagram is given in the NCERT book, class 10th, geography, chapter 1st. Now according to this diagram, what are the satisfying features? If we see the satisfying feature, then 43.41% of the total land area is under net sown area, which is good. Now the area under forest, as we can see here, was only 18%. Now it increased with 2.257% This is also a satisfying feature. The area under fallow land has also decreased. As you can see here, the area under fallow land was this, which is actually the 10 to 7.03%, but now, sorry, it was now 7.03%, which is decreased 10%. Again I am saying this line is that the area under the fallow land has decreased from 10% to 7.03%. It is also a satisfying feature. Now what is a disturbing feature? If we see the disturbing feature, then the main disturbing feature is obviously this one, that the only 22.57% of Indian land is covered with forest, while 33% of the land must be covered with forest. If we see the permanent pasture land, then it is only 4%. It is also disturbing feature, because on other hand India has the largest number of cattle in the world, while we have only 4% pasture land. And obviously the fallow land still occupies 7.03%, which is also a disturbing feature. The land degradation, it refers to the depletions of the land due to the faulty agriculture practice, overgrazing, deforestation, mining, etc. The thing which we discussed here is the causes. Natural cause means by through the natural agents such as winds, water, landslides, etc. This is how we see the land degradation by nature. On other hand, human cause, if we see human cause, then through deforestation, overgrazing, careless management of forest, mining, industries, over irrigations, etc., etc. These all are the causes of land degradations. Through this diagram also we can understand that the distribution of degraded land in the year 2000s. The total land is 130 million hectare, among which, as you can see, is the 28% is the forest degraded areas, while the land which is degraded by water erosion is 56%, and because of the saline and alkaline land it is 6%, and the land degraded by the wind erosion is 10%. So in last, the main thing come in front of us is the ways to control land degradation. We can control land degradation through proper management of grazing, or we can say the controlled grazing. Afforestation means to plant more trees. This is how also we try to control land degradation, or we can say that these are some conservation measures also. The proper discharge and the disposal of industrial effluents after the treatment, not to drain it on open land or in the rivers and pollute the land and rivers. We have to use a proper manner through a planning system and discharge and dispose these industrial effluents according to that. The next is the control over the mining activities also, which is one of the major problem in India, and also the proper management of the wasteland. The next thing which come is the stabilization of sand dunes by growing as much as possible thorny bushes around it. So these are some method of conservations of land. I hope the land part of the chapter is clear. Even then, if there is any kind of problem, you can comment to me. I'll try to reply your doubts. Thank you.